Okay guys, it's late, I'm packed for Zion, I'm ready to go tomorrow, but I just wanted to talk about and get this video out for you guys about how I've been using the iPad Pro for the last 6 months and how it's really changed my workflow and really benefited my editing, and especially when I'm on the road, how it's benefited me there without having to bring like a bulky laptop or anything. So just to begin with, I have the 2018 11-inch iPad Pro. It's only 64 gigabytes, but I'll talk about that in a minute. It has been amazing. Like, this has really changed the way I edit. It's made it much more tactile, really much more personal. I'm really able to have it real close and really scrutinize over my images if I want to. And the pencil has just changed a lot of things with being able to do micro adjustments and things like that. Now, I recommend 2 accessories. If you're going to go with the iPad Pro route, there are 2 accessories that you must have if you were to do this. The first one is being the Apple Pencil. So this was the main reason why I went with the iPad Pro. The pencil is just incredible. The way that the pressure touch works when doing local adjustments and just being able to really get in there, and it's just like an extension of my mind essentially. Like, I'm able to just, it's much more easier for me than using a mouse, and it feels much more comfortable. So that's one accessory I definitely recommend. And the second one, because the iPad Pro only has a USB-C port on the bottom, I recommend getting some form of multi-port adapter. So this one I have here has a micro SD, an SD slot, USB 3, a headphone jack, and then the charging port, but then it also has a HDMI, which is kind of handy. I don't use it too often, but it's nice to have that option. So this is a must-have as well. Now, recently, I can't remember, I think it was at the beginning of the year, Apple came out with iPad OS. So it differentiates it now from the iPhone OS, because they used to be the same. It was just a bulkier version of the same operating system that was on the phone. So now we have a lot more closer to a desktop or a laptop, but not there just yet, and who knows if we'll get there, but it's a good step in the right direction. So it's enabled us to plug in a external hard drive and use it as you would on a computer. So like I said before, I only have the 64 gig version, and I chose that because I knew I was not going to be holding on to my files on the iPad itself. Some files I will do, but for the majority of them I'll be putting on, I don't know where it is, but I have a small external hard drive. It's a SanDisk 1 terabyte SSD that I will plug in with the USB. So generally what I do is I plug in my multi-adapter, and I'll put my memory card in, and I open up Files, and it will pop up right at the bottom, the memory card, and then I select pretty much all of the photos that I want to import, and I'll import them into my files, and then I back them up if I want to onto my external hard drive, and then I go through all my photos and I choose which ones I want to import to Lightroom. That way it keeps my Lightroom catalog not too crowded, and I just choose the ones that I want to edit on. So then once I've done that, once I've imported them into Lightroom, I have all of these options that you would see on Lightroom Mobile on your desktop. It's just a different layout to Lightroom CC, but everything is still there. The greatest thing for me is that I have all of the presets that I've made ready to go. So literally I can import a photo, click the preset that I want, and then I can just do my tweaking to fix the exposure and the colors and everything. Now, the way that the pencil really helps me is, let's say I want to just increase the highlights on this tree on the top right side and on the branch on the bottom. I can just click the brush tool, use the pencil just to brush in. I'm just doing this very rough, brushing down here as well. And the harder I press, the bigger the brush gets. Really just flows so naturally, it's incredible. And then just do as I would on the computer, just increase those highlights. And then I'll probably increase some of the sharpness a little bit and maybe the texture as well, just to make those really stand out. And I think I want to increase just a bit of highlights in these leaves. And then it's basically the same, but just having that pencil, like I can just have so much flexibility. It's like I said at the beginning, it's like an extension of my body, of my mind. Like I know what I want to do and I can just, it's like I'm drawing on a piece of paper. It's incredible. And then I can save it to my catalog or to my photo stream and it's ready to go to Instagram. I don't have to save it on my computer, email it to myself because I don't have an Apple computer. Maybe like if you have an Apple computer, you can AirDrop, but that's just another step. Like this is ready to go from importing to edit to Instagram or to social media or wherever it's going. It's just all in one area. Okay, so the first point I want to talk about is portability. Now, like I said, this is 11 inches and it's incredibly thin and incredibly light. So I can just slip this in my bag and it just comes with me most of the time wherever I go. I don't have to worry about lugging around a heavy laptop and then a power cable and then a mouse and things like that. So instantly this frees up bag space for me and really makes traveling a lot more pleasant because I'm not having to worry about a bulky laptop and extra weight weighing me down. The second point I want to talk about is power. I don't know the exact specs of this machine, but I can tell you it is comparable to a laptop. Now, you're not going to be doing like serious gaming or anything or serious video editing, but for general Lightroom editing, this thing is more than capable. Like I had mentioned, it has Lightroom Mobile, which you can have on the computer and it's the exact same layout, but then also they came up with Photoshop. Now it's not a mobile Photoshop. Adobe says it is full-blown Photoshop. There are a lot of things lacking at the moment, but if we take a look, so I've been working on just a couple of things because I've been trying it out. It is very basic at the moment, but it's a good step in the right direction. One thing that I like to do sometimes on my photos is the auto effect. So essentially you'll do your edits and then you bring it into Lightroom, you duplicate the layer and then you put a Gaussian blur on it, a fairly strong Gaussian blur on the top layer, and then you increase the intensity of the highlights and the shadows, but then you bring the opacity down of that layer. Generally you'll put the layer to a screen effect. So I'll show you in here what I've done here. So if I bring up my edit, so you'll do soft light, excuse me, not screen. Blend mode is soft light and I have opacity set to 30%, which gives it a nice soft glow. And you can't do this in Lightroom. So usually what I'll do is, if I wanted to edit, I'd bring it into Lightroom and I'd edit on my iPad, but then I'll have to go back to my PC, bring it into Photoshop, and then do all that auto effect, and then bring it back into Lightroom. But now I have it right here on my tablet, and that's pretty much the only thing I'd use Photoshop for. I'd also use it for some big healing if I needed to, spot healing and things like that, because I just found it was much better than Lightroom. But to be honest, it's more than enough for what I need to do, which is incredible. And it can handle layers and multiple layers in Photoshop pretty smoothly. I haven't really had any issues when working with multiple layers and doing multiple adjustments throughout those layers as well. So in terms of power, it's very capable. Point number 3 is the Apple Pencil. Now I touched on this earlier, but I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more, particularly with local adjustments. So I really don't like using the mouse for local adjustments, but with the Apple Pencil, you can just open up a brush and then just draw, essentially. You know, it's something that we've been doing since we're children, which is drawing, and you can just draw in where you want to do your adjustments. So here I'm just drawing in my coat because I want to make it stand out a little bit more, and it's pretty rushed. but if I press a little bit harder, it makes the brush go a little bit further, which is really nice. I can zoom in and really get in there. Really, really smooth for doing local adjustments, and you can really spend and take your time getting close to the lines and making things very nice and neat. But then I can just increase my exposure and increase my saturation just a little bit, and then also increase my sharpness a tad bit as well. Really make that jacket pop. Point number 4 is the Adobe Creative Cloud. So I only have experience with Adobe. I haven't really used any other editing software, so that's all I'm really going to be talking about. But with the Creative Cloud, I have about 1 terabyte of space on there. So pretty much all of my photos are stored on the cloud, and then I'll back up to my hard drive. But it's really nice because it syncs across all my devices. I have Lightroom on my computer, on my phone, and on my iPad. So if I wanted to do any edits on my computer, I can just pull up that same photo that I've imported and then make some edits, and it syncs across all my devices. If I didn't have my iPad with me for whatever reason and I wanted to do a quick edit on my phone, I can just bring it up, apply a preset or something, and just set a base edit for when I get back and then want to work on it some more. And it's all synced and it's all ready to go. So I don't have to worry about transferring photos from one device to another device. It's just all there, which is really nice. The final point I want to touch on is the screen. So I don't have to worry about like color calibrating monitors or anything like that, because the majority of my photos are going to my audience on social media. So it's Instagram, and they're going to be looking at my photos on a phone. So I know that what I'm seeing is what they're seeing, and I don't have to worry about calibrations or tone issues or any discrepancies there. To sum it all up, the last 6 months have been amazing just using this iPad primarily as my main editing device. Particularly when I'm on the road, I can take my photos, offload them from my memory card, free up all that space, and then I can just start editing them in my downtime. Because most of the time I'm shooting in golden hour in the morning at sunrise, and then golden hour in the evening at sunset, and then I have a lot of time. You know, I'm traveling sometimes to and from locations, but I have some downtime and I want to work on those photos. So I don't have to worry about bringing a bulky laptop or anything. I just have this very light and very small powerhouse of a device with a pencil that can just get right in there and make some really clean adjustments without having to worry about any other devices like a mouse or things like that to bring with me, and cables all over the place. Like, it's just right here and it's in my fingertips. So I highly recommend looking into the iPad Pro as an editing device, whether it's alongside a main machine or even if it's your primary machine. You cannot go wrong with it. There is a bright future ahead for the iPad Pro, particularly with Photoshop just coming out, and with the updates that should be coming out soon. We should hopefully be seeing some new things, bringing it close to what we have on a desktop machine. So if you have any questions about editing with the iPad Pro, please drop a message in the comments or hit me up on Instagram. I'll happily answer them if I can. And anything else you'd like to know about how it's been, please feel free just to reach out to me. Heading down to Zion tomorrow, and this will be coming with me so I can do edits on the road in my downtime and just make sure that my photos have come out the way I want them to. There will be a video coming out in a couple of weeks of my Zion trip, so keep an eye out for that as well. And until then, I'll see you later.
Hip hop is a way of life, a way